And to get us started with that, let's go to David Moore.
Okay, David.
Hey, Jerry. David Moore, Dallas Morning News. With CD being resolved now, how would you characterize your negotiations with Dak Prescott heading into the regular season opener?
That hasn't changed. So we're continuing to, first of all of us focus on what's coming up here in the next 10 days, 2 weeks, opening game. And that takes priority over anything. Lamb wasn't here. Dak is here. So we have really no more to do in those significant things that we talk about every time we meet to have this season on go by opening day. So it'll remain like it's been.
Clarence Hill, All City, Dallas.
What's the name of your outfit?
All City, Dallas. Thank you.
You kicking it off with some good stories? Shit, Clarence.
Dalvin, can you just talk about the interest in Dalvin Cook?
I have no answers for you.
Interest in Dalvin Cook and where you are in your running back position.
Well, Dalvin is someone that we all have an appreciation for his career, and he gives us a chance to get in here and learn the system. He's initially on the practice squad, gives us a chance to get in here and learn the system. We had hoped that as time went along in this off season that we'd have an opportunity to maybe look at a player like of his stature if the right circumstances came along. They came along. We're appreciative of that. We had to work out for him. He's in good shape. He'll get a lot more work, but he'll learn our system as he goes, and he could easily really help us out this year.
He and Zeke are both 29 years old. How does that mix with what you're trying to do? And at their age, can they still be strong contributors?
That adds up to 58, if you want to know, seriously. But really, we're in a great position to have flexibility here. We got Malik Davis back on the practice squad. We now have Dalvin on the practice squad. We're all excited about what Zeke can do for us. We needed to have improvement, especially in that red zone. We needed to have improvement getting in that end zone with that running game, and this all bolsters that up. I'm really pleased with where we are right now at running back.
Jerry Toddles with ESPN. Back on Dak for a second. Is there any indication that if you don't have something done by the opener that talks will discontinue, that they'll just focus on the season?
No, not any indication of any of that. That's why I said it'll be just like it's been.
John Machota with The Athletic. When you talk about cutting down to that 53, you obviously have done this a lot of times in your career. How difficult was this one compared to previous years, cutting down to 53? Well,
they all are. You can see the upside after our time with these players just currently at training camp. You can see the upside in several of these players, if I can talk with them generically. Each one of them are great individuals. They've given it up a lot. They've had really notable careers to have been out with us at training camp to begin with. And so it's hard to talk about them as a group or this as a function, cutting down. It involves some great people that I admire a lot. And what I am just compelled to say when I'm talking to them individually or if I'm talking about them as a group, I'm talking about the cut down process. I'm just compelled to note that over the years, so many times I've seen these guys get disappointed about not making the roster and then turn around and look at them and they're back with us. They're back with us as either practice squad or in some cases really right up there on the roster and in the game. So this is an important time. It's an important time for the NFL. It's an important part of the process. a part of this allows all teams to benefit from the work of each individual team and the players that don't make those rosters. Those group of people that were cut are the center cut of the depth that will possibly be called upon for the season. And what I'm interested in is how it can help the Dallas Cowboys. And some of these guys that we did have let out of here could possibly help us in the future.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How much of it is this a risk of losing Dak if you don't get him done by week 1 or at some point during the season?
I don't have any comment there. I have, from the time that I thought about buying the Cowboys, I frankly have never really dwelled on and assessing the risk of what we do around here to be involved in the NFL, to be involved in football. It'd be madness to say, well, that's risky. So I've been feeling extreme risk since the day I walked through the doors here. And so everything you do, almost, there's risk involved. That's the nature of the game. Sometimes it's worked out really well. Sometimes taking those risks will bite you. I don't believe the man upstairs gives anybody a plus or minus on when they're taking risk of how he's going to cut the cards. But I've had good luck taking risk. I've had some drawn back a nub a few times. So again, I don't want to even talk about any of the decisions we make on personnel as assessing risk. It's all risky.
Saad Yusuf, The Athletic. Gary, you guys have won 12 games for the last 3 seasons. What gives you confidence that this roster can have a better ending than the last 3 years?
Well, I would be wrong to say I'm going to go ahead and use confident, but what I'm really trying to do, if anything, during this offseason and right now, is have better results at the end of the year and into the playoffs than we've had in years past. Now, if you have to assume that you've got to have a team that's capable of winning 12 games to have better results in the playoffs, that's front of mind. That's right there. That's been right here all the way. And consequently, I think that everything that we've done gives us a great shot to go farther than Green Bay we got last year.
Tim Calishaw, Dallas Morning News. On the flip side of risk, historically, do you think there's value in having players playing for contracts and what that can mean over the course of the year?
Well, it's easy to say when you're talking strategy that you put the carrot out there, leave the carrot out there, leave the incentive out there. It's easy to say that if somebody has gotten pretty satisfied, whether it be financial or whether it's be over a good meal, that they may not go as hard as before they were satisfied, if you look at it. And so that's an area that is tricky. It's easy for me to say. I seem to have my better times when I'm dealing, frankly, in bad times, which are incentive areas to get out of the ditch, so to speak. And so it's easy to say, well, boy, when you don't know what's coming around the corner at the end of the week or end of the month or end of the year, then you give it your best. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's usually a combination of what's in the best interest of the whole, in our case, the Dallas Cowboys, and what is needed to do to make a decision on the length and the incentive demand in the contract. And so it's somewhere in between. You've got to obviously look at the well-being of the team and the goals of the team. But where I can, I've always, in any area, put my associates, my running mate, in the case of a player, players, coaches, anytime that I can incentivize them more, I do that. I believe in the carrot out in front of you. So we've got that. I don't want to sound callous, though, when you say, well, don't you know that people want to know where they're going to be next year, the status of their contract next year. I have said this. I have never seen, ever, that I can tangibly touch anybody in coaching not coach one way or the other, whether they've got a huge contract and a lot of years left on it, or whether they're in there just 1 year left or this season. I've never seen a discernible difference in them trying to win that series or that quarter or that game. I've never seen it. So I think that's inherent in the competitive area that we're in football.
Yeah.
Jeff Cole with Fox 4. Jerry, excuse me. Yeah. Jerry, what more do you want to see? What more do you need to see for Dak Prescott to give him a new contract?
Well, you could easily say, if you hadn't seen it by now, you haven't seen it. And so I'm such a fan of Dak's and appreciate all of the great things that we all know that he's there. And I appreciate his work ethic probably more than anything out here. And I can't tell you how proud I am that we've got him this year to start this campaign. Needing to see, I just gave an explanation of where when you look at a situation, you've also got to weigh, okay, what are the consequences of the other side of the coin? And so Dak's situation right now, for me, from my mirror, has more to do with our situation than it does with the merits of Dak Prescott being quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Billy Scruggs, NBC5. Jerry, with no quarterbacks on the roster for next year under contract, what's plan B?
What?
What's plan B? You got no quarterbacks under contract for next year, so as you talk about this, like, what's plan B?
Do you know, in this day and time, you can have them under contract and they still not come. So contracts isn't the end-all solution. And some of the best decisions that I've been a part of with the Cowboys have been when we didn't have contracts one way or the other, whether the player was on our team or on some other team. And so I've quit a long time ago getting bent out of shape about having anybody under contract or not. And there's all kinds of other things other than a contract that could change the outcome of him being under contract. Injury, level of play. So you can't just pick that and say that should give you a better feeling about our team or me a better feeling about it. The whole thing has a lot of moving parts. Now, I can live with that and do live with it. You have to live with it because we play a game that it can change on the next play.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. CeeDee said yesterday that you two had to have a businessman conversation to be able to clear the room. As the owner and GM, what goes into that conversation, and do y'all feel like y'all have a good relationship moving forward?
Well, I'm going to point specifically to one aspect of the conversation, and that is just an inherent wanting to, and I think it's natural for all of us, wanting to say, now you're going to be dealing with huge amounts of money. Be careful. Be careful. Look under the hood. Give it a lot of consideration as you make decisions regarding what you have as far as keeping it. You don't have to be smart to make money. You do not have to be. You can be very talented. You can be very driven. You do not have to be smart to make money, but you have to be real smart to keep it. Very smart. Any way that I can help a player in any way keep it, put me in, coach.
And Jared, the league voted earlier this week to allow private equity funds up to 10% in a franchise. Is that a revenue stream you intend to avail yourself to going forward?
Well, let me say this. It is something I'm well aware of. I haven't made that area capitalization or the prospects of other ownership relative to the Cowboys. I personally have not made that a high priority for me to attend the meetings at all, because I don't intend and haven't intended for that to apply with the Cowboys. But you're foolish if you don't get up every day and really look at how the tea leaves look at any given time. I do want to say this: never is never. Never should be never. Having said that, there is no doubt that this is going to make us have a better league. There's no doubt that it'll give more financial flexibility, which in and of itself, since my experience in the NFL, when I look back at the financial viability of where we were in 1989 compared to where we are today, and this type of thing that we voted to do yesterday will enhance this game for you as fans and professionals in the game, for the players, for the fans, and it will create more financial viability and let us take advantage of the great following and the great interest that we have in the game. And I don't have specifics, but it will, and you could clearly see that, and it was a unanimous affirmation there that this was good for fans, good for the league. Let me say this: anything that's good for fans is good for the league.
But you're not looking to do it with the Cowboys at this time.
I just don't I'm not trying to be evasive in any way, but yes, the correct statement is I'm not looking to do it. And I don't want to foreclose anything as far as the future is concerned, but we have not been in that kind of mind thought.
Michelle.
Jerry, Michelle Montaigne, WFAA. What difference did you observe within the team, guys, with CeeDee being back in the fold?
Please repeat that question. I'm having trouble time hearing.
What difference did you observe within the team having CeeDee back with the guys?
Well, I haven't been with the team since I was at that league meeting yesterday. But I can tell you right now, you probably read between the tea leaves, there's never been any question about how important CeeDee Lamb is to the Cowboys, and really never a question about our commitment to sign him. And so having said that, and we did say that during the course of this negotiation, these things become, they just have a life of their own. There's other people involved in the middle, and it's important to them to have the exercise. It's important to do if you can't get used to it. My father told me after about a year with the Cowboys, he said, Jerry, I'm 75. And he said, you get all of these negotiations with agents. You get all of these negotiations done, I think, before you're 60. He said, because when you get as old as I am, you won't be able to stand it if your secretary is sitting there that you loved for 30 years asks for a raise. It'll enrage you. And he said, that goes with age. Get it done now. Well, Dad, I'm proud to say it doesn't enrage me. It's just what it takes to get to be a part of the NFL.
Matt.
Matt Engel, Fort Worth Star Telegram. You guys have been, I think, pretty prominent in the role to try to push for legalized sports betting in Texas. Do you see any things that give you an idea that maybe that'll pass here either next year or in 2 years?
The things I see are the impressive numbers of states This, as you know, just for everybody, the Supreme Court said that this would be a state determined operation as to where you're located by state of whether or not you can have sports betting. And that's why that you have some states, over 30 of them, that do it, and you have others that don't. It is a thing similar to this. If you look at the background of them, if the mind frame of the people is what we're talking about here, and I don't want to sound like a politician, but it is the mindset, the mind frame, and it has to get an order of priority, an order of importance for something like this, because it must be voted on by the citizens of the state of Texas. And so you've got to create a level of importance, and that level of importance sometimes takes some years to establish, or some other visible, tangible, other states doing it, for some states to make that happen. That's a long-winded way of saying that I think ultimately you'll have sports betting in the state of Texas. Until that time, the state does lose an opportunity for huge amounts of revenue. And I think that properly supervised by the people that play the games and people that have the teams that play the games and the individual athletes, you've got to make sure that the perception is, and the reality is, that there's just no compromising on it all being very competitive and up and up. And I think that takes some time in some places more than it does others.
Garrett.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Gary, CeeDee said when his agent called him and said he had $34 million a year, he was like, where do I sign? How conscious are you in negotiations of the top of the market and where those numbers come in when you negotiate those contracts?
Well, I knew where he wasn't coming in at. And at this time and that time, that was about the only one in the market that I was looking at. That market is one thing, but it does boil down to ultimately to individually feeling like the time is right, and that's how you get there. And I've got to always remind everybody that this is a zero-sum game, and that any dollar one player gets, it's a dollar another one doesn't get. This is a cap on those dollars. They're like scholarships. And if you could spend 5 scholarships in college and you had 60 to give, you could spend 5 to get 1, and then 1 on 1 player, then you would run out of scholarships to get the very top one, and you'd have lesser players. And financially, it is not, in most cases, a matter of the money. It's a matter of the use of the term money as it relates to the cap. And if you can get the most players and the better players out there for the least amount under the cap, you're doing your very best job. And so that's how it's looked at. And so you sit there and you work, and you certainly understand our fans wanting CeeDee in a month ago. But we're fundamentally trying to save some scholarship here for another player.
You're good, Clarence.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Sorry,
We got one more.
I got one more.
One more.
Terrence, is it Terrence?
Got one more. Zimmer. Can you talk about Zimmer? Can you talk about Zimmer's role in some of the decisions you made?
I can't be mad at you. All right.
Can you talk about Zimmer's role in some of the decisions you made? Certainly, Linval Joseph, some of the guys he had with the Vikings, but also Dalvin Cook. How much did the interest in Dalvin Cook go with Zimmer?
Well, I will always, if you have confidence and you have had some experience, and of course, it's not a question of trusting somebody, it's just understanding when they say wow, as opposed to when someone else says wow. They can be 2 different degrees of that. You've got to know who's saying it. Well, hello, Zimmer, we know who's saying it when he has a a recommendation, so to speak. And there's no question these players that you see that have played for him were greatly influenced by his assessment of how they could help us or not.
All right.
Okay, thank you, guys.